Good afternoon, everyone. It's about that time where I give a rant off the top of my head. You know, this happens a few times, I guess, over the years. I think the last one I did was during COVID. But yeah, this is just something I do every now and then because I have an epiphany. And I like to discuss it online, see what people are saying, see what people are thinking, and spark some conversation, you know. I was just thinking about my sports career the other day and training and whatnot. I've been involved in many sports, mostly individual sports throughout my life. I'd say at a serious level in freestyle wrestling, track and field, mostly jumps, hurdles, gymnastics, whether it was like acrobatic gymnastics, tumbling, or men's artistic gymnastics, and of course weightlifting. That was my last high performance sport that I competed in. And someone the other day was asking me like, hey, are you going to compete again in weightlifting? Are you going to compete again in weightlifting? And I was like, no, I don't think so. I don't really want to. And you know, you've heard tons of other athletes, if you listen to like podcasts of like NBA players or NFL or NHL players, and you know, like you kind of know when you're done, or you kind of know when you're not done. But for me, it wasn't like, oh, it's not fun anymore, or sorry, just a little bit of wind here. It's not fun anymore, or like, oh, I was injured. And trust me, I've had my fair share of injuries. I've broken my neck, had nerve damage in my right arm. I've had rotator issues in both shoulders. I've had tendonitis in both elbows. I've had multiple high ankle sprains, really bad tendonitis in this knee. I broke my foot and my ankle about 6 months ago. I've had bulging discs in my thoracic spine. I've had a lot of injuries, but I've overcome every single injury that I've had, so it wasn't really the issue. But the vast majority of my career, almost exclusively, I've trained under two coaches, and one of those coaches was Steve Sandor. As if you're involved in weightlifting Canada, you probably heard the name before, and his son Akos Sandor, who was an Olympian in 2004, Commonwealth Games champion. I don't know how many national championships he won in Canada and how many records he still holds, but he's accomplished a lot of really cool things, a lot of really cool feats. And honestly, I just kind of transitioned into weightlifting, not because like I was like, oh, like I want to be strong. I did want to be strong, but I never kind of was able to get to the level of gymnastics that I wanted to achieve. You know, I started out really late. I didn't have a lot of like financial support or family support. So I was just happy to be a part of the sport. You know, for me, it was not about winning medals. It was just acquiring skills, and like to be able to do those skills in competition. Like, it's one thing to do a skill in the gym. Cool story, bro. Anybody can do a cool skill when the stars align, everything's right, and they're super hyped up. But like, go to a competition and do a skill in a routine, like show the people you can do it with safety and level of safety and competency that like it counts, or you get value for the skill. Because if in gymnastics, if this skill accumulates so many deductions or is performed in such a way you don't get credit for it, it doesn't count. So that's all I really wanted to do. I had a lot of really cool coaches along the way. But I got into weightlifting essentially because I felt like, you know, I was still young. I was in my early 20s, I want to say, maybe 22, 23. I don't really remember exactly. It was probably around 2017 when I got involved. Yeah, 9 years ago, I guess now. It's 2026 now. Yeah, okay, so 9 years ago. And it was just kind of something for me to do. Stay competitive, like have a goal, have a pursuit, because like, if I didn't have like a physical goal to achieve, like I feel like I get very down on myself, struggle with mental health problems, and I lose direction in life. I lose path. And at that time in my life, I definitely needed that, and that's why I advocate for sport with a lot of youth, and I advocate for competitive sport in some, or even just recreational sport to some extent, for everyone, at least until the end of high school. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked here. I did my first weightlifting competition, just a local one. I won, but I don't know, something was missing. I didn't feel like it was a truly competitive style of training. Maybe it was because of my prior training as a high performance athlete in other sports, but I was like, this isn't really it. My coach recommended a different coach to me, so I went with that guy, and that guy was Steve Sandor. And right away, this guy was like, man, you're different. You're kind of messed up in the head. Like, you're crazy. And then I was like, yeah, man, a lot of people tell me I'm crazy. But he's like, you might just be crazy enough to be good. And I'm not trying to say I was a good weightlifter. I competed at one nationals. I qualified for nationals a couple times, but I had injuries. None of those injuries do I blame on any of my coaches or teammates. They were all overuse injuries caused by my own, how would I say it, my own choice. I don't know. I made poor choices, even when I was advised against them. But I don't know. When I met Steve and I started training with him, this is the kind of person like who I think when I was a young kid, when I envisioned like a coach, the kind of coach I wanted, like, I don't know, like almost like a Rocky style coach, or like, I don't know, he was just hardcore enough, but he cared, and he was all about respect. And he was all about, you say you're going to do something, you do it. You honor your word. You're a man, be a man. It doesn't matter if you come first or last. It's just pursuing being better. Just be better. Just be better. Get a PB. As long as you get a PB, it's a successful competition. And honestly, this guy, well, anyone who knows me, anyone who's trained with me for any significant period of time just knows, like, I get really philosophical when it comes to training. After training or before training or during training, like, sometimes I'll have these epiphanies. I'm like, man, it's just like this, or this is like this, and this is like that. And sometimes people are looking at me like, okay, man, it's not that deep, all right? You're just kind of go through the motions, input X, output Y, and sometimes it goes away, sometimes it doesn't. But for me, I don't know, it was way deeper than that. Like, there were life lessons in there. Like, the amount of life lessons I got in those, I guess it was 9, maybe less now, because we haven't competed in a while, so maybe like 8 years, training directly with Steve, seeing him every day, calling him every single weekend, even just going over to his house. I used to go over to his house and we'd watch old videos of his son, Akos and Balish. He had a video from every competition they had ever competed again, from their start of their weightlifting career, like when they were children, up until Akos's last competition. I think he was like 43. And we would go through that. He would stop, he would tell the story, and then we'd watch it, and we'd do that for hours. I don't know, it was amazing. I dreamed of that. And then Akos at some periods would take over for Steve, like if Steve was injured or away on vacation or something like that. And with Akos, it was like the same thing. But when Steve retired from coaching and retired from working, like, yeah, just weightlifting. I have friends in weightlifting who still train, and like, I've trained with them, and it's awesome, but it's not the same. It's not the same for me without Steve. It's like I had no desire. The only way I could describe it is like when you hear like Khabib Nurmagomedov, when he's talking about, yeah, my father's not here anymore. I don't want to do it. I don't want to fight without him. Like, that's kind of like it. Like, I only enjoyed the process of like learning what my body was capable of overcoming obstacles with Steve, like doing it with Steve. Maybe like if you ever saw me in competition of weightlifting, maybe I looked like, I'm sure a lot of people have told me I just looked like a dick, or just looked like an asshole, or you just look really mean or unapproachable or intimidating or whatever. But that's the way in competition, the kind of mental state that I had to develop in order to get the results that I desired. I tried many things, and that's just what worked for me specifically in weightlifting. In other sports, it was a different kind of mentality. Even for the snatch and the clean and jerk, I had two different mentalities. Snatch, I was like at the end of my career, I was very calm, very relaxed. I would walk slowly up to the barbell, very still, very quiet, not trying to make any noise, just relaxed. And then for the clean and jerk, I was more amped up, fired up. I was yelling. I was like slapping my legs, slapping my neck. And it was two different, even though both are just lifting a bar from the floor over your head, it was like two different sports for me. It was two different events. But that's something, I don't know, for me that worked well. But anyways, when I think about my sports career, you know, when I was younger, like, you had these goals. Like, sometimes I'm like, oh, I want to win OFSA in wrestling, or I want to make national team in this sport. I want to lift X or Y. Like, I want this number. Those are good too. It's good to have measurable goals. But when I think about what did I enjoy the most, it was the philosophical life lessons that I learned throughout the sport. And I would go home after training, especially when maybe a bad training, maybe a good training, just any kind of significant training, and I would write down on a sticky note like a philosophical thought that I would have. Like, I remember one of them was, we all had a discussion about, like, well, do you have to train? Is it more about working hard, or is it more about training smart? And my coach was like, it's neither, it's both. And then I went home and I would write down, you can't outwork smart training, but you also can't outsmart hard work. And sometimes when I'd have like a rough period of my life, I'd look at that. Another one was, just when you think you have all the answers, they change the questions. So you'll never figure life out. You'll never be like, yep, I just figured out this is the way it is. I know everything, blah, blah, blah. That's it. No, because the problems always change. You fix one problem, another problem comes up. And that's not a bad thing. That's not like, oh, my life is full of problems. That's an opportunity to learn every time and to have a goal and pursue something and improve, get better. And that's, to me, that's a beautiful thing. That's the best thing. And the sport, like, you know, every time I transitioned from one sport to another, I felt like a failure. I had a lot of like concrete goals, and these were all self-focused goals. My parents were not involved in my sports career. They didn't push me to do anything. Some coaches, told me I could do good things, or told me I wasn't good at anything, or I should just give up. But I don't know. I was all totally intrinsically motivated. I had my own goals, my own lists since I was probably 12 years old. But I was very, very blessed to have very, very good coaches that taught me a lot of good life lessons. Like, I can't believe the amount of coaches I've had who've come from all different walks of life. Like, one of them was Greg Jackson. I think he's still the men's artistic program manager for Gymnastics Canada. Phenomenal human being, so knowledgeable, so methodic with his approach to training, and just the way he got information from different sources. Another one of my coaches, my first wrestling coach, was Frank Falcione, and I went to school with his sons from kindergarten all the way to university, and that guy was awesome. Taught me a lot about wrestling and just life in general. Like, I was just happy to be, competing and that, and finding a sport where, like, it didn't matter. I was really small growing up. When I graduated high school, I weighed 145 pounds. I think it was like 5'5" or 6. So wrestling was perfect because it was a body class sport, or body weight category sport. So it doesn't matter if you were 6 feet tall or 200 pounds or this. Like, there was a category for everyone. So I had a lot of success in that sport, and that's when I first probably gained some confidence, some self-confidence in myself. But yeah. I don't know, I'm just kind of rambling on here, but yeah, I don't know, like, they're like, oh, don't you miss it, or don't you want to do this? Like, yeah, I had numbers, and a lot of the numbers in weightlifting, for example, like, I didn't accomplish. But what I'm trying to say is, sport was just the vehicle for self-discovery. Some people do their self-discovery through work, through their career. Some people have their self-discovery through education. For me, or through music even. For me, it was sport. It was always sport. And I don't know, maybe I always thought, like, I possessed some skills, possessed some talents in my coordination, or my dexterity, my agility. But I don't know. I just remember going through elementary school and even high school, and a lot of teachers just telling me I was not a good athlete or garbage. I can remember high school teachers laughing at me when I was training, or laughing at me when I'd try out for a sport team. Like, I thought that was, and you're a young man. You're like, wow, okay, I guess this is the person I'm supposed to take advice for, or like look up to. And you're like, all right. And how many people, like, I did a lot of stuff differently. I remember I think it was the 12th grade, I would wake up early, before school, well before school. I would ride my bike to school around 6 a.m. The director of the head of the physical education department, Mr. Camilletti at the time, he's since passed away, may he rest in peace. He would open up the weight room because he would work out before school, and then he would let me work out in the morning. So I get my workout done. And then after school, because we didn't have a wrestling program anymore at my school, I would literally ride my bike because I didn't have any money to partake in club wrestling at this point. So I just literally rode my bike. I got permission from Mr. Camilletti to wrestle representing our school, but practice with another school. So I'd go to White Oaks and I'd practice with them. I'm not trying to say it was a great program or anything, but any program is better than no program. And I would do that. Sometimes I had gymnastics after that. And think about that. That's like 3 trainings a day. Sometimes if I had to lose weight on lunch break, I would jump rope for like 10 minutes just with sweats on and stuff on the basketball court. And I'm sure people probably thought I was an idiot or stupid or a maniac. And then I would eat my lunch after that. But I don't know. I was always motivated by sport. Honestly, sport was the only thing, I've said this so many times in my life, but sport, I think, was the only thing that prevented me from becoming a criminal. When I think about some of the people I used to hang out with in elementary school and high school and some of the things I was exposed to, I don't think I would have gotten out of it. Some of those guys got out of their like drugs or their petty crimes and stuff, but honestly, I think that would have, just the kind of person I am, I think that would have totally just consumed me. And I don't think I would be the person I am today. Yeah, unfortunately, Canada is not the greatest country when it comes to sport. We don't, as a society, I think, really value sport. We like professional sport, but there's very few professional sport in Canada. There's, to my knowledge, hockey, ice hockey, which is probably the most popular. There's Canadian football. I'm sure they make a decent living now. There's lacrosse, basketball, of course, baseball, and soccer. To my knowledge, I think those are like the major ones, but there's no professional. I'm not telling people, well, I'm a professional gymnast. Like some guys have gardening. I didn't have gardening. I wasn't even nowhere close to that. But in other countries, you tell people, like if you're in Hungary, you're in Russia, Kazakhstan or whatever, you're like, oh, if you're a national team member, like you are a professional athlete, you're paid by the government, you have some sort of stipend or whatever. Even in Italy, like you're part of the police team or something like that. In Poland. Shout out to Poland. Yeah, Canada is unfortunate. My biggest gripe with Canadian sport is if your parents don't have a lot of money, you're not going to make it to a high level. It's not about who can play, it's about who can pay. I've seen kids, I've coached gymnastics, competitive gymnastics for almost 15 years. And I've seen kids who were incredible, so gifted, so talented, so hardworking, but their parents couldn't afford it. I've seen kids who've lasted long, they didn't even really have interest, but their parents just wanted them in that, so they were in it. I think, honestly, if people really cared, I think that we should do it similar to a European system where physical education teachers should have a specialization in a certain sport. Let's say your specialization is wrestling, okay? So you teach phys ed, but also you're like the local coach at a facility, right? Your local facility. And then you can select people from your gym classes and be like, hey man, I think you should come to wrestling and try out wrestling, give this a try. And they're professionally trained and they are paid by the government. So then when you're selected, you don't have to pay a fee. We don't have to worry, man, I can't afford the monthly fee. I can't afford this. It's okay, man. It's government subsidized, and there's a lot of people, there's a lot of good kids out there who come from harsh neighborhoods or rough family upbringings that have an aggressiveness to them or have a chip on their shoulder and they need an outlet. And what do? They go to crime, gangs, drugs, because they're essentially an outcast of society. because of what situation they were born into or how they act to this, when they just have this, or some people just have this energy or this fire inside of them. They don't know what to do with it, so it destroys them. They burn. They literally like just destroy their own life. If you had someone there, a mentor, a coach who could teach you how to use that energy and put it to something constructive, and who knows, you get a scholarship, you at least find something, you find a path. I wonder how much that would impact our society, you know, if we had coaches like that who were paid for by the government and kids didn't have to worry about paying fees. I guess I'm gonna be honest with you, like when you're coaching and a lot of the kids you coach come from houses that make 6 and 7 figures, there's very, very few individuals who come from those types of affluent households that know what real, true hard work is. Like excruciating, painful hard work, physical. It's like, hey man, I don't care, it needs to be done. This is the standard. If you want to stay here, this is it. Because they have a lot of escape routes. Oh, mom will pay for this, dad will pay for this, mom said I don't have to do that, dad said I don't have to do that. Buddy, nobody told me. I didn't have a choice if I wanted to. Like, I did. You always have a choice, but hey man, I wanted to get better. The only time I could work out was in the morning. I had to ride my bike to school to work out in the morning. That was the way it is. It didn't matter if it was snowing. It didn't matter. I had to figure out a way. You have to figure out a way. That's it. But when you come from this affluent household, you don't have to figure out anything. It's all set for you. Everything's you got your investments, your RSPs, you got this. Don't worry, dad's gonna buy you a house, a car, blah blah blah. Let me tell you, in other countries, those kids don't make it anywhere in sport. You show me a boxer who grew up like that. And I'm not trying to say just because you come from an affluent household means your child's going to be lazy in this, but generally speaking, it's harder to teach them the value of hard work and to push through obstacles if you grow up with an easy life. If you have a hard life and you understand how to push through, like if you have a hard life, training 4 hours a day is not that hard. You're like, oh man, I got breakfast, I got lunch, I got dinner today, I have clothes. Oh, this is pretty good. All I had to do was follow the rules and do this, and like, okay, I can do that. I don't know. You know, when I was weightlifting, I'm still working. Like I was an adult man, and when I saw my coach and the amount of effort he put into it, the amount of work he put into that, and I'll be the first to tell you, my coach didn't charge me anything. My coach didn't charge me a dime. We paid the gym fees. He did it simply because he truly loved weightlifting. And if you wanted to work hard, if you would show up on time, give respect, communicate, were honest, didn't lie to him, he would always make time for you. A lot of people don't like my coach, and that's fine. You don't have to like anyone you don't want to, but a lot of people would talk shit about him even to my face, and it's like, well, okay, man, this guy's doing it at his own time and you're not even going to listen to him. Like, I don't know if that's how you treat your mom or dad, but like, yeah, if you're not going to listen to him, or you're going to shit talk him, or you're going to say, I'm not coming to training on Friday because I'm going to my party, I'm going to this, or I'm not doing this because, if you like, just be honest with him. If you told him the truth, he'd respect you more, but too many people lied to him. But I'll tell you, that man did more for me probably than my parents did in my life. Maybe it was just maybe people who disagreed with his methods, maybe they were spoiled. I don't know what their situation was, but he never forced me to do something I didn't want to do. He never pushed me through injury. If anything, he was the complete opposite. He was probably, of all the coaches I've had, the one who cared the most about the state of my body and my mind, and really urged me to, like, hey, don't always push to the hardest because you don't want to hurt yourself. I've never seen him abuse an athlete to any degree, whether it be sexually, physically, verbally, anything like this. But people just don't like him, or they just don't like him because of the way he is or his beliefs or this. But I don't understand. But this guy meant the world to me. Honestly, to this day, there's no human being on this planet I've ever met that understood me better than Steve Sandor. And all I really want to do, my ultimate goal for him, was to get karting and So I would give it to him and hopefully help him retire, because this guy was working, double knee replacement. He was working as a stucco guy. God, I think up until his 68th, 69th birthday. This guy was through a lot, man. People just crapping on him, people shit talking him, like. But he was the toughest. He was the toughest motherfucker I ever met. Coolest guy I ever met. Taught me more about being a man than anyone else I know. All I wanted to do was reach a certain point, and I didn't give a shit. I didn't give a shit for my own personal gain. When I saw this man and the amount of work that he put into me, I was like, I just want to help this guy. Sorry, something happened there. When I saw the amount of work that this guy put into me, and like the amount of effort he gave to coaching me, I just said to myself, I have to help this guy. I didn't have a lot of money, so I thought maybe if I can reach a level where I can get karting, I'll just give him the karting. I'll just give him whatever the karting was. And that's probably my biggest one of my biggest failures, I think, personally. I know I never even told him that I wanted to do that, but yeah, honestly, that's one of my biggest regrets. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough to help him. But, you know, it's not like it hurt our relationship. We still talk all the time. He's still alive and well. So am I, but I'm so glad I was able to meet people like that. Honestly, the amount of amazing people and horrible people I have met through sport is incredible, but the amazing people outweigh the horrible ones. It's not even close. Like, the amount of amazing people I've met through sport and the feats of human excellence I have seen, that's priceless to me. The amount of money I've spent, I was probably, oh my God, man, the amount of money from my paychecks that went to my sport, whether it was physiotherapy, training camps, food, supplements, yeah, most of it on food, supplements, and training camps, I would say. You know, competition fees, training fees, blah, 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 equipment. You know, the amount of relationships with girlfriends that were destroyed because they didn't agree with my training or my lifestyle at the time. Like, I don't know, I loved it. I loved it. And I still continue to train to this day. But you know what else too? The other thing that was completely life-changing was my involvement in wrestling. I'm still involved in wrestling. I try to volunteer coach when I can at Central Toronto Wrestling and just be involved within the community, because that sport, the fact that weightlifting is a weight class sport too, but you know, there's equipment, there's blah, blah, blah. And honestly, I think it's more expensive to be involved in weightlifting these days than it is to be in wrestling. But it was like, as long as you tried. In wrestling, it's like, hey man, where there's a will, there's a way. Like in weightlifting, there's only one way to win. You lift most. Who lift the most wins, right? It's pure competition. But in wrestling, there's something special. Like, it's a combat sport where you can get the absolute shit kicked out of you, metaphorically speaking. Like, the point is not to hurt the opponent in wrestling, but to dominate them physically, essentially. But you can get beat over and over and over again and still get better. What other sport can that happen? Like, in boxing, if you get punched in the head so many times, the coach is like, hey man, you can't keep doing this. Like, this is not okay. You're gonna kill yourself, or you're gonna have serious brain damage. But in wrestling, you could literally get beat over and over again and still get better. There were so many times you practice with a partner, you're like, I don't even score a point on this person. Like, what's the point? I'm horrible. And then you go into a tournament, you win, you're like, what? This doesn't make sense. It's such a beautiful metaphor for life, because no matter how good you are, you will lose eventually. You will get the shit beat out of you. Something will happen. You'll get an injury. You'll lose. You'll make a mental error. Something will happen, but life goes on. You still have to get up and you keep going and you keep practicing and you overcome it. You don't whine. You don't cry. You don't complain. You take it as it is. You evaluate the situation and you try to learn from it and you push forward. And I'm so glad, like, I had wrestling coaches who didn't focus on wins and losses. They just focused on the development of the individual. You know, and I don't remember what coach I got this from in wrestling, but I do remember someone saying to me once that, you know, everybody wants to be a world champion. Everybody wants to be an Olympic champion. I'm going to be honest with you, that's probably not going to happen to you, right? And right away, you're like, oh, God, okay, this guy hates me. But he said, like, your two goals in life are, one, to be the best that you can absolutely be, and two, to make the world a better place. And as I got older, that started making more and more sense to me, and that just seems like to be like the goal of wrestling. You know, sometimes you see these rough looking tough people and you think, oh, that guy's a hoodlum, that guy's a criminal, and they're the nicest, most helpful people, the person you'll ever meet. Honestly, in wrestling has, without a doubt, it is the only sport I can say within Canada right now that truly emphasizes respect and honor to each other. People understand, listen, I lost, that's the way it is. I won, I'm going to be respectful to my opponent. You shake hands with your opponent, you shake hands with the judge, you shake hands with your opponent's coach. You have to maintain your honor. I don't see that in a lot of other sports to this day. Now, wrestling has its problems as well, so just like as any other sport or sporting organization does, but I'll always advocate for wrestling because it's for everyone. Men, women, big, small, anyone. All you have to do, and you can always find a way. You can be more flexible. You can escape. You can be quicker. You can be faster. You can be stronger. You can have better endurance. You could be smarter. You could have better coordination. You can always find a way. No matter what, you could be down by 9 points, but no matter what, you could still win. You can pin someone. There's so many ways to win. It's like life. There's not one direct path. There are multiple paths to success, and that's what I saw throughout wrestling. But anyways, I've gone off topic so many times, but this is just my my first rant of 2026. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Please comment on the video and tell me what you think if you've had any experience like this yourself. Peace.